Okay, first thing first, got Mercury. Mercury's in opposition to Chiron. This is the Aries and Libra axis. Mercury in Libra, Chiron, Aries. Chiron is retrograde. So this is a review in retrospect. A theme concerning our opinion of ourself, an assessment of the self, the ideal of ourself that seems to include a sense of inadequacy and lack. And it can have us feeling discouraged in our mind, confused, not certain of what to make of it, because the reality that we're at during this opposition is we're looking at the results we're getting. We're looking at the place that we're currently in motion. And it's not adding up to represent or reflect success or victory in the way that we would expect. And it can have us to question ourselves and say, well, was it me? Was it something I did, or was it something I said, or was it something I failed to do, or something I failed to say? So there's two different directions that this can go. Because it is Mercury, it does have to do with our communications. We have many checkpoints at our communications these days. Libra Mercury is about diplomatic communications. It's about harmonizing through communications. And it's about speaking towards an outcome of justice, reciprocity, fairness, and viscosity in the situation. This includes whether or not we have in the past used tact, wisdom, sensitivity, ethical insight, self-restraint, and consideration in how we deliver. This is a place where there's going to be a little bit of struggling as we find the balance. It obviously has great importance because we've been here many times as far as communication is concerned. And right now we could be tempted to go one of two different directions, which is to hold on to a great deal of guilt behind what we said and how we said it. There is also the temptation to feel that it's time to let go of some guilt, or inclination, that is, to feel that it's time to let go of some guilt behind what we said and how we said it. So either case can be the case, where you have reason to self-correct, or you could have reason to clear your conscience because you've done or said nothing wrong. It could go one of both ways. But this is where our communications has us in doubt of ourselves, our status, and what we seem to be getting out of our expressions lately. Okay? It's a reoccurring cycle that we're looking at and saying, okay, once again, here I am, something's not right, and I think I know what the reason is. Could it have something to do with my communications? Could it be what I said, or could it be how I said what I said? Maybe. Maybe so. This is not to tell us not to be sincere, truthful, honest, straightforward, all of the above. But it is to say that it's possible that we may have to improve even more our tact, our delivery, our wisdom, and our ethical uh, commitment in the matter in order to see a better outcome, in order to balance the scales. It is possible. So, with that being said, what I'm going to go over is a lot of details, in fact, about the Sagittarius Juno transit. Juno is now out of Scorpio and into Sagittarius, and what can we expect based on that transit? Where are we now? Before we go any further, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification so that you know when there's a new video available. And also, schedule for your natal birth chart readings or insights if you want to get personal details and how this relates to you personally. This is a general review. However, for you personally in your situation, it could look a whole lot different. There could be a whole lot more to consider, and we can only know that by getting together and going over your chart. Understand? All right, so check it out. We got Venus opposition to the North Node, which obviously means that Venus is conjunct the South Node, Virgo. Understand that. It's conjunction South Node, Virgo. Now, what does this indicate? The opportunity at the North Node, Pisces, that you know is there for you to take, to receive, to be receptive to open up to, the position and align yourself with, okay? Through the fated opportunities and also through opportunities that you've created for yourself. You see that it's accessible. You see that it's attainable. However, Venus at the South Node, Virgo, it indicates that we're going to have to pull on some discipline, some temperance, frugality, sacrifice, all right? If that's going to happen. And if you need to know or want to know what themes that this holds for us, it's within what we value in relationships, what we value and how we relate to our finances, what we value as experiences that give us a sense of comfort, pleasure, or joy. Okay? So, being that this is at the South Node, what this can look like is your comfort is in the way. Your own comfort can be in the way. What you're used to can be in your way. Complacency can be the enemy right now. Don't get too comfortable. Don't get too comfortable with the same patterns, the same habits, the attachments, the matters of that Scorpio shadow work 9-month phase that we just came out of, okay? It's like you gotta leave the scabs and the boogers in the cast and you know, in the Band-Aid. Don't pick the same Band-Aid back up and put it on the wound that, you know, you cleaning and washing to proceed forward. I'm going to tell you like this. Concerning Venus, relationships and habits of escapism, conveniences that you've been affording yourself or that you've been making habitual in your life, inside of these things were catalysts for us. And what I mean by catalyst is You may have taken something way too serious or way too personal that you had access to that was a pacifier, a comfort, a coping mechanism to make it through the dark, cold process of that Scorpio stellium transit. The healing phase of all the shadow work. There could be people and things that you used to doing or that you've been used to be that you have been used to doing over the past 9 months that simply was a catalyst of you learning boundaries, accountability, moral commitment, to come out of hiding with escapism, dodging, shucking and jiving, being a fugitive on the run from yourself, hiding in the midst of things that you distract and indulge yourself with. Catalyst to learn something, to realize something about yourself. And you think that a certain relationship situation might have been the permanent ideal, a job situation, something convenient of Venus that you took value in, something that you assign value to. And you could have hid away in that as you learn, you shadow box, you sparred with it to get those karmic accountability and boundary lessons correct as Saturn was finishing up the last decade of Pisces. Okay? So that's taking a band-aid and the cast off. That is asking you to wake your ass up out of the simulation and see that certain things in your life have expired and what it was serving. And beyond that, to admit to yourself that the way that you're looking at something concerning relationships, the way that you're looking at something concerning your finances, the way that you're looking at something concerning things that you covet, things that you prefer, things that you like, things that you desire. It's in the way of you obtaining the goal. The way that you're doing it, the way that you're handling it, this cycle that you have been in, if you keep that shit up, your ass ain't gonna attain it. You're not gonna fucking get there if you keep that shit up. What is that for you? Okay? To really know what that is, you want to look at the house theme. What is the theme of the Virgo house placement that you have? In that theme is insight for you to understand what that means for you. That gives you the context, as well as if you have a stellium of planets or aspects in your Virgo house and also the 6th house. Okay? Because this is Virgo, context goes along with the 6th house as well. And anytime we're talking about the 6th house, we're talking about habits. We're talking about our habits. There are certain habits that have to be undone. There are certain habits that has to change if we are to reach our goal. If we're to get there. If we're to get into that receiving mode, there are habits that have to change. That 6th house, there's something you have to adjust and rearrange. You can't tell me, you can't tell yourself that you have not become aware of this through the new moon phases. Okay? We had 2 new moons in Virgo. So surely, with 2 new moons in Virgo, you aware of something. You know what I'm saying? You notice something about patterns going on in your daily routine that are getting in the way of your goal. What is it? Come on, ask yourself and be honest when you answer the question. Be honest. You know what I'm saying? You know you with a toxic, unhealthy person and y'all still fucking, y'all can't stop fucking. So you can't get where you going because you know what I mean? Y'all still doing what y'all doing? You know? You know, are those spending habits still there that keep keep you in the hole, and it's constant missed opportunity after missed opportunity because of poor spending habits? You know? Sixth house. Have you still not figured out what to do with your time or how to arrange your time, plan your time so that you are in command of what you do in the 24 hours? You get to decide. Oh, I didn't make it to the gym today. I didn't have time. No, you got time. You just didn't prioritize it. Oh, I couldn't do this today. I ain't had time. Yeah, you had time. You just didn't prioritize it. You had time. Yeah, you did. You didn't prioritize it. Where's your discipline? So it's looking at the sixth house and noticing that in my daily routines and habits, something has to change because right now, according to what I have going on, I'm not going to make it if I don't change this. Understand? Now, another opposition that we have is Uranus and Juno. Okay? Gemini, Uranus, and Juno. What this is indicating is that there's new commitments that I have to make concerning relationships, process, and procedures that I'm prioritizing in my life. And the Uranus opposition, which is a retrograde opposition, it's asking us if we've opened our mind yet to see the opportunity that we have, if we could just choose to renew our mindset, we can renew our reality. If we can renew our mindset, we can renew our community that we identify with, if we're willing to. A new mindset can equal new relationships, a new community, new associates, new associations, new connections, new opportunities, man. And it starts with the mindset that we have. The old, outdated, closed mind, it gotta go. We have to open it and think beyond the inner rings of Saturn. Because it's retrograde, it has to do with realizing perceptions that you've held in the past. Perceptions that you've held in the past. Analysis that you took in the past. Assessments that you've had in the past of your life vision, of the headlines in society. Who is who in this world? And what is what in this world? The conclusions that you have come to, based on the conclusions that you have come to. How can you get the bird's eye view over it all? How can you step above it all, over it all, to catch a pattern of where the unity can be at, where you can stay in the middle or stay consistent with what remains universally true and not subject to the spells, the programming, the limitations, the social engineering, the propaganda? What's my way out of the mindset that has me to limit my associations and to limit the possibilities because of programming that is consistently running? What could I see and notice of value outside of the programming and conditioning that allows me an authentic read of where I need to go in life and what I need to do. What does the renewed mind say about where I'm headed? If you notice, all three of these oppositions that I'm mentioning, it has everything to do with renewal and opportunity open up in your life, and the sacrifices in the here and now that has to take place for us to take advantage of and initiate that forward motion into freedom. Let's remember also that Uranus is an energy or impulse of deliverance. It suggests that we have the opportunity to give ourselves deliverance from this ongoing cycle of isolation, solitude, transformation, healing, and licking our wounds. It's time to get up and explore and expand in life and make life worth living. To make it meaningful through experiences. To try trust again. It's time to get up now and get moving. Juno enters Sagittarius. Expansiveness, exploration, optimistic wonder, fool's journey. At the checkpoint of Uranus. Uranus keeps us consistent with the most authentic self. Uranus is where we are not getting ready to conform. We're not getting ready to submit and conform. So where in our mindset have we conformed and it's opposing or resisting our ability to initiate and claim true freedom in our life? That begins outside of the conformity. Pay attention to yourselves. We could be conforming in certain ways that we least expect and not realize it. Who gave you the thought process that you have, the opinions that you have, the views that you have? Why do you think the way that you do? What's the truth of it? You have to ask yourself that question when nobody is around to critique you, criticize you, or judge you because you're just going to lie. What is the bitter, ugly truth about why you have the opinions, the thoughts, and the views that you do? Why do you? Where did it come from? What's the truth about it? And oh boy, that's a real question to ask today. And I know y'all don't like me talking about that shit. I love talking about it, but y'all don't like talking about it. But when you're afraid to talk about these things and go into it, yeah, that's exactly how you get a mindset like that. Because you're avoidant. You don't trust yourself to be decisive because you haven't clarified your identity. It's all talk. It's all talk. Yeah, whatever. It's talk. You're talking. You don't mean it. You don't know what you believe in. You don't know what to believe. You can if you wanted to. It's a matter of learning, educating yourself, researching, paying attention, weighing. What are you going to do to get authentic? What are you going to do to figure out how to finally become authentic? Cowards are worse than the evildoers on earth. If you sitting there right now shivering in your boots to make a damn decision in yourself, in what you believe and what you know about what the hell is going on in America or your country or whatever, if you're scared to look and you're scared to clarify to yourself what it means, what it's about, who's doing what, how did it get to this point, shame on you. If you're running and burying your head in the dirt, hiding away, cowering away, shame on you. The cowards are worse than the damn villains who's doing the fucking evil out here. The cowards are worse. You're worse than the fucking evildoers. The cowardice is not helping. Your absence is in silence is not fucking helping. You got to get dirty and get active too. Get in this motherfucker. Anyway, I ain't gonna go down that rabbit hole. Y'all start crying and shit. So, Juno stepping into Sagittarius. I'm gonna go, down some explanations of that. But essentially what this is about, this is a turning point from the water trine hosted by the triplicity of Scorpio stellium, personal transformation. We're coming out of the phase of personal transformation, okay? And on the other side of personal transformation, obviously, is the rebirth of the self, okay? As a rising phoenix, and Sagittarius is the fire that hosts the expression of that rising phoenix. And this is where we get to experience ourselves as that renewed rebirth, firebird, rising phoenix. So these oppositions that are taking place, these are checkpoints, okay, that puts us in a place of clarity to identify with creativity, optimism, and a clear conscience so that we can act spontaneously upon freedom, realizing and claiming the true identity and the state of the self, which is to initiate and activate the true legacy of the soul as it was authentically originally written when you agreed to come here and express exactly what it is that you have finally reclaimed in your life of your soul, of your identity. And now you're going to make that story real. You're going to make that story true. And these are checkpoints. These are checkpoints. Understand that. So, what I can also add in here, I believe I did go over this in the discourse, but Jupiter is a lord of Sagittarius. Jupiter is in Cancer. And yes, I will explain that, as you listen to the discourse. But what's happening here is that Jupiter is keeping us consistent and not in contradiction with our matriarchal source and foundation within ourself, which essentially is our conscience. Okay? So this exploration and freedom that we're stepping into in our life, where we now are ready to expand, explore, learn, and express greater freedom through the authentic version of the self. What protects and preserves that freedom is one of two things, or two things. And one of those two things is our moral commitment. And because Jupiter, the Lord of Sagittarius, is in Cancer, we are guaranteed every time to remember the balance of the moral commitment, because security, which is the fruit of moral commitment, Cancer, security, it is a polarity of freedom. Okay? When we motion toward freedom, we afford it by releasing some security. When we motion toward security, we confirm it by releasing some level of freedom that we have. But this is to experience freedom without abusing ourselves, without contradicting ourselves, without forgetting to have a conscience as we do so, and to have shame, to have dignity, to have a sense of moral grounded standing as we demonstrate our expressions of freedom. The alternative of this, for example, if I were to say what is the opposite of this, okay, women are set free through feminism. Great, everybody's cheering. You can vote, you could cash your own check, you could get your own money, you could do what you want to do, you could divorce somebody tomorrow and and then have a party, a divorce party, okay? So you're gonna take that freedom and you're gonna hurt yourself with it. That's the opposite. Why? Because you don't have accountability, number one. It's always somebody else's fault while you, as a feminist, are creating the reality that has you to have the walk of shame in your life. Your reputation as, you a street runner and prostitute, turn up culture, and you with this man and this baby daddy and that baby daddy, and you did this and you did. Feminism, it degrades women. It totally degrades women. But somebody else has to be to blame for how it degrades women. It can't be women's fault, even though it's their fault. It can't be their fault. Somebody else has to be responsible for what they choose to do with their freedom and liberty as consequence of hurting and abusing themselves, subjecting themselves to trauma and pain with hypersexuality. And then that leads to you in abortion office killing babies. And you justify that. I mean, I could go down the fucking line with this shit. And when you become alienated from the moral compass, you become detached from the moral commitment. That's when you no longer will have peace in your life, because you are going against the grain of your conscience. And when you go against your conscience, you kill the small, still voice within. And you no longer will have security in your life. You will always feel insecure. You will always have regrets. You will always walk around with your conscience burdened and feeling shame. And this develops into a sense of narcissism and arrogance in order to disguise and hide it, to mask it. The insecurities that you harbor in yourself because of the way that you handle and treat yourself, because of how much you betray yourself, because how you abuse and oppress yourself for the culture, because everybody else is doing it. You betray yourself. So that's how freedom becomes entrapment. When you don't have accountability and moral commitment with the expression of freedom, you get entrapment, ironically, in the end. And that's exactly what feminists did with their freedom. They gave themselves entrapment, wanting someone else to be responsible for it, simply because they refused to embrace accountability and moral commitment with the expression of their freedom. So this time around, we learn moral commitment through the Cancer Mars retrograde, and we learned accountability through the Saturn transit of Pisces. We learned that. And because we learned that, freedom will remain as an expression of freedom and not entrapment, because we're now balancing security and opportunity of freedom, opportunity through freedom. We're balancing the two now, not forgetting the moral commitment, not forgetting to respect and honor family, relationships, and that which is sacred to us, our reputation, the inner child, the matriarchal law that is written on the heart, to thyself do no harm, respecting and honoring the conscience, not betraying the conscience. Understand? So any rate, to understand what this means for you personally, you need to schedule for natal birth chart reading or inquiry. Let's go. Let's figure out what this is all about. Listen up, you heard? Alright, where we at right now? We're coming out of the Scorpio stellium phase. When I say Scorpio stellium, I'm referring to Vesta, Black Moon Lilith, and Juno concentrating on transformational intentions, submission, and alignment. And this has really been like a 9-month process that worked together with what we had to learn and what we had to heal concerning the Cancer Mars retrograde 7-month phase. This worked together in unison. Along with that was the finishing of the last decan of Saturn direct motion at Pisces. So it was a water trine healing. The water trine healing essentially was salvation. There was a realization of what's needed as an act of or measure of justice to the self to heal the emotional state of the self, to clarify the water in the self, and to purify the status of the self. And this was through the scales of justice, atonement, forgiveness, and realization or expansion of the realization of what love really means toward the self and the inner child. That, of course, reflects in how we show up for others. The capacity that we have to heal others reflected from the capacity that we expanded in healing ourselves. This was the shadow work at Scorpio. This was the inner child work at Cancer. And this was the surrender instead of escapism and living as a fugitive from the truth, living as a fugitive from the work that we know we had to pull up our sleeves and do at the axis of Pisces, which is Virgo. Of course, that hints at the North and South Node transit that we have of Pisces and South Node Virgo. This was work that had to be complete if we were to become reborn. Reborn. A birthing process. Cancer, that's a salvation that was entirely about the self, that began with the matriarchal principle that we first knew in life, our mothers and those who were charged with the responsibility of nurturing and advocating for us early on in life. When it comes to Scorpio, of course, that is the exercise of salvation between ourselves and others, and how we relate to power dynamics with others, expectations and entitlements, disappointments, power struggles, where we realized we were attached to past life themes and future fears that had us to reach for out of habits of control and domination in order to avoid those ideals of fear. And where the attachment to the past and the reaching for the future of what there was to be feared, that of course had its exercise through Pisces, the imagination, the heaven that we plagued with these dark beings of imagination. All of that load is now in the process of going through closure in our life. Saturn at Pisces giving us the review and what was learned during his direct motion and closing out Pisces' karmic lesson. And we know that Scorpio stellium is breaking up, which started with Vesta going into Sagittarius. which shifts our intention towards devotion in the area of expansion, new experiences, growth, so that we can realize the new image that we are. It's time for freedom to confirm who have I become as a result of this healing. It is the fiery phoenix that now has to express itself and spread its wings. When it comes to Juno, Juno just entered Sagittarius, and this changes the context of our relationships and what our intentions are all about in our relationships. What are our intentions in relationships right now? Well, that is changing. And our intentions are now shifting from the water trine into the fire trine. I have submitted myself to a 9-month process of healing and salvation. And now I'm in position to trust myself. Therefore, I'm in position to trust others. I have emotional clarity. And because of that, I have emotional enthusiasm about sharing myself in depth through connections with others and what possibilities and opportunities there are with who I can expand with, or what experiences I can expand through. Also, I've learned to cultivate a status of peace in myself. That is, as an outcome of accepting responsibility and accountability for my actions and my intentions over my life. And I've clarified the moral commitment that I should always have if I am to have a clear conscience. So all of this has prepared us to initiate the fire trine, which is a phase of creation after salvation. This phase of creation after salvation, it requires creativity to activate and initiate. It also requires a clarity in the identity to initiate. And where does the creativity come to initiate the phase of creativity? It comes from clearing the conscience, ridding it of its guilt, its shame, and its fear, not from running away from what we may have been confronted with concerning truth about ourselves, but in facing those very themes that are undesirable, challenging, and quite intimidating or even humiliating. Turning around and facing it and clearing our conscience by aligning ourselves with values and an embrace of moral significance that has us to see that what we may have condoned, enabled, participated in, or even created of harm to ourselves or to others that brings about a sense of shame or guilt, we clear ourselves through atonement. And only through atonement, we're able to clear our guilt. We're able to free our conscience. And the other is forgiveness. Forgiveness, the self and others. So, when the conscience is clear, greater is the capacity for creativity. When the conscience is clear, greater is the capacity for a productive imagination. And this is when now Jupiter and Neptune can serve a greater purpose rather than expanding the dwelling on subconscious activity that weighs us down, or Neptune that dwells on means or ways to escape or distract ourselves from unpleasant feelings and thoughts. It now serves Mars. Jupiter and Neptune now serves Mars. Neptune has the vision for Mars, the carpenter, and Jupiter has the competence for Mars, the carpenter. In combination with the moon, these impulses, Pallas Athena has the memory of what you have experienced, what you already understand and know, where your skills are, and what patterns you recognize in the realm of your destiny and life, of what you've been through, what you suffered, what you understand to expect out of your unique life path. This comes together to form how your creativity informs your sense of creation from your intentions and the fire train or trine. So we had to do all the work in the water trine in order to approach the fire trine in a productive manner. Clearing the conscience, standing in emotional clarity, and being receptive, because we have cleared the space for this. That is clearing the space in the self through Cancer, clearing the space in our relationship terms and disposition and expectations through Scorpio in 8th house, and also clearing our imagination and our subconscious through that salvation and acts of forgiveness, accountability and surrender through Pisces in the 12th house. And the 12th house, let me emphasize that we all are born with a specific fear that we want to hide. Something about ourselves that we may not want to be known, found out, exposed, that presents a vulnerability about us. And the 12th house explains many of those things. It's the energies and powers that we start out in life trampling over and causing ourselves undoing and troubles that only salvation can get us through once we hit rock bottom with it. And after enough suffering, a turning point occurs where we decide to become the one who we were looking for to save us. And then the 12th house, rather than being something of a curse, overburdening, or a burden, it becomes an expression of perfect love, unconditional love. And we become a missionary for that house out into the world, seeing ourselves in others and what we ourselves suffered, making it personal and making it about heaven, the reason why we show up for others with that spiritual power that began with our own suffering and undoing. Now, having said that, we have unlocked a very high spiritual authority after completing this water trine evolution. This spiritual authority is the basis of our identity. It's the basis of our higher self. It is the basis of our greatest intention in life, and it is the basis of exactly what gives us true fulfillment and happiness in our life. It is what makes our life rich, and it's what makes our life meaningful. And without the suffering that we just came out of, we would never know that meaning. We would never feel it. We would never appreciate and cherish it. We would never reverence it. Understand? So it's something that we do want to appreciate. This this fire trine of Aries, Sagittarius, and Leo. Sagittarius is about the phoenix who rose from the ashes from the third decan or the final decan of Scorpio through Juno and these other impulses that have to pass that point. But it is Juno that brings a realization of where our commitment is at. Our commitment flowed through the rising phoenix at the last decan of Scorpio, a firebird. The firebird has its full expression through Sagittarius. It is a passionate expression of the greatest truth that we have to express from the body, not from the mind, but from the body. It is where the new self, the resurrected self, takes its first breath of life and it stretches its wings of fire, which are expansive. And it has something very specific to express, which is, I have seen, I have heard, I have learned, I know, I am a witness to what truth is through the legacy of my experiences. And I'm here to spread and make it contagious the zealous, fiery gospel of the truth that I embody through my experiences, my transformations, and the resurrection that I am at. It is a testimony of the fact that death is not the end, but it is a means of remaining eternal. And we spread that attitude, that spirit, that contagious, zealous fire when it comes to Sagittarius. Now, Sagittarius requires something very specific because it's the point where we're getting to know ourselves as the higher self after rebirthing ourself in accepting the death of the lower self. And this again explains in part the centaur that we are when it comes to Sagittarius. Half man or woman, half beast. Okay? So, the way that we realize ourselves apart from our beastly nature, it has to be reflected back to us through relationships with other people, 7th house, and with the world, 12th house, and 11th house also. This is the way that it gets reflected back to us. We don't know our image by standing in the mirror and looking at our physical body, the dense body. We only know our image in the feedback that we get in our most authentic expressions. And expressions are not just to write a poem or to stand on a table and sing a song. Expression is when your heart so urge vibration, that which your soul inevitably is led and longing to do and express or create time and time again, no matter what, the position and role in life that it will always assume, no matter what, that is an expression. That is its expression. So through that expression, passionately and zealously, optimistically, you begin to see glimpses of your higher self in that intention. How you bring that energy to people and how you bring that energy to the North Node fated experiences that you have in life, the growth opportunities that you have in life, where you meet the themes of your life path. This is where you have the realization of who you really are, the feedback from those interactions. Sagittarius is where you have to have new experiences so that through experience, your image begins to solidify in spirit, and there's a comprehension of who you now are as a result of these new interactions from this new state of mind, that is the renewal of the mind and the spirit upon your reality. And the more experiences that you align yourself with, the sharper the clarity and the image of the newborn person that you're able to comprehend and receive, that you're able to realize and understand and connect with. When Juno was in Scorpio, we were trying to stay down long enough to heal. You were wounded. I was wounded. We were dealing with matters of betrayal, matters of hard and harsh truths that there were to accept and digest. We were dealing with limitations of our power, where we have come to the end of our power and we can no longer feel a sense of empowerment, where we were at the end of what we can do about a situation or a matter or a harsh truth that we had to simply accept if we were to move forward. We were dealing with disillusionment, disappointments, setbacks and losses, betrayal, vengeance, and pain that was to be accepted that seemed impossible. That is why deaths are required when it comes to Scorpio. It is the manifestation, of course, as you remember, the serenity prayer. Father God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change. Grant us the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom so that we may know the difference. That is Scorpio, and that is the phase that we have come out of. Acceptance is what we bring to disillusionment, and the reward of that is personal transformation after the acceptance. And what this is to detach ourselves from the past ideals that we once held on to and wanted to control or change, and the future of fears that we want to reach out and block or stop from haunting us, and that made us very controlling and obsessive or dominating. The solution was to find our way into the present moment, blessing, and opportunity, where grace is always active in our life through Taurus. Now that phase, when Juno was in Scorpio, we know that that included the shadow work, the journey through the wilderness, the recovery of expressions of the self that we hid away because of shame or fear of rejection, because there were things about ourselves that we didn't want to be ridiculed or criticized for, that we didn't want to face harsh scrutiny over, and we had to go under the bridge and pick up the kids who we dropped off and abandoned. In other words, the expressions of ourselves that we abandoned. We had to pick them back up and recover these delinquent energies. That shadow work has us to now find more authenticity in our expression, which again is the actual expression of Sagittarius itself. An authentic, fiery, zealous expression that doesn't put on a front, that doesn't make itself cute or appeasing for others, but it is as it is, being as it is. So the Sagittarius portion of ourself, it needs criticism, it needs critiquing, it needs adjustment. This is where we are unshaven, We have a long beard and big bushy hair. We have a hairy chest. You know, we smell like the great outdoors. Um, you know, we are less civilized. We have to cut our nails. We have to exercise what I remember Islamic tradition is called fitra. And fitra is the details that marks you as civilized apart from uncivilized. So the new being is there, but it's not yet civilized. It has to be trimmed. It has to get a haircut. It has to get a manicure. It has to take a bath. You know, it's the wild newborn version of the self, and it's going to take time to critique, mature, and give detail to the authentic nature of the self that has been recovered. Okay? The authentic self has been recovered, redeemed, restored, brought back alive. So you imagine this big caveman or cavewoman that's been brought back alive, but yet it's instead of the lower version of the self, it's the higher self. But the higher self has to, again, be critiqued in its alignment with the lower self, which is what makes it a centaur. So new experiences has to inform it. This is why our soul is going to urge to come out of the dark, deep, shadowy recesses of Scorpio, where we were in the cave, isolation, in order to make the necessary transformations in secret, the transformations in hiding, the transformation in deep guard of ourself, where we didn't trust anybody, we didn't trust anything, we fed the world, and we spoon-fed ourselves, kept distance from anything that posed a threat or possibility of a threat to that process. We stayed out of the way, okay? We're coming out of that shell, we're coming out of that dark dungeon in order to reconnect with our reality again as the new person. Now we have a curiosity and the need to create through our connections with new faces, new voices, new opportunities, new possibilities. It's about the ninth house expansion. What can this new body do? What can this new mindset accomplish? Where can I go with this? What is possible? I need to remove the barriers, the barricades, the rope, the handrails. I have to remove everything so that I can see, okay, I've got to test drive. I've got to see, what am I capable of creating here? I need space to confirm this. Only through freedom do we get to express authenticity. We have become the authentic version of ourselves, so now freedom becomes critical to claim. We have to claim absolute freedom. Sagittarius is first in that claim of freedom. Now, what we recovered in the shadow work of Scorpio is the recommitment to accountability and moral commitment, okay? Accountability and moral commitment, if that does not go with our expression of freedom, the very freedom that we express becomes a means or source or cause of self-entrapment and self-binding, self-undoing, because we did not keep accountability and moral commitment with it. So that's the difference this time with this freedom, is that we recovered moral commitment and moral accountability and moral commitment. And what is consistent with this is the fact that Venus is in Virgo. With Venus in Virgo, our astral body, which would be the disruptor of that commitment, it is preventing us in Virgo from having those disruptions. It's keeping us in a mature and sober state concerning our astral body, so that through the astral body we do not cause an interference with the Vesta intention at Sagittarius, which is, I'm doing this because I have a reason that is divine, that is holy, that is sincere, that is heavenly, that is true, that is righteous. I must do this. And Venus would disrupt that if she were not in Virgo. She would spoil the fruit of peace. She would spoil the fruit of clarity. And she would use it to have fun. She would use it to party. She would use it to indulge and escape once again. Escapism. Okay? So through Virgo, she's standing down to the authority of Mother Mary, which is the source of the Christ impulse that we now are radiating from. Okay? This is what's happening now. The number 9 Hermit card is still holding Venus at the South Node. Understand that. South Node transit. That number 9 is keeping us in the intent of the divine identity, not the intent of the flesh. So, you're going to notice, and I'm going to notice, that relationships are going to take a different turn right now. The tone, the energy of relationships is going to have a sharp adjustment. So, what is it about relationships that's going to change? Okay, relationships always reflect the relationship that we have with ourselves. That's first of all. We can only expect a manifestation of a relationship, circumstance, experience, and status that directly reflects the relationship, experience, and status between you and your inner child. We cannot expect anything in a characteristic in contradiction to that. It will always be consistent with that status. As an example, if I betray my inner child, I will experience betrayal through another person. If I am rejecting my inner child, I will manifest rejection through the experiences in my relationship with other persons. If I have any oppression, injustice, okay, imbalances concerning this, you're always going to see it reflected in the other person. And that, of course, is to cause the undoing that brings you back to center, where it all begins, where it's all emitting from, okay? So anyway, the relationship with ourself was about transformation, a commitment, Juno, to transformation. Transformation because we came to the limitation of our power. We came to the end of what we're able to do about a circumstance, a situation, a status, a season that we ran into our life of powerlessness. We came at the end of the rope of what we're able to do. Realizing that transformation was the only way forward, so that acceptance is what initiated the process of self-transformation through Scorpio algorithm. Of course, that goes along with a great deal of disillusionment, as I explained. So without going into all of those details that I did explain, we subjected ourselves through Juno, which is commitment and prioritization in relationship themes. We subjected ourselves to self-transformation. So now that that shadow work has been accomplished, we are looking to be aligned with the intention of the rising phoenix, which succeeds who we are in the exit of Scorpio, last decan of Scorpio, rising from the ashes. So we have to step into Sagittarius to fulfill the impulse the expression of the phoenix. That has to be done through Sagittarius. So you are the rising phoenix now. I am the rising phoenix now. We have done that. And we experience ourselves as the rising phoenix, the resurrected self, through Sagittarius. So this includes the 9th house and your Sagittarius placement. What is in or at your Sagittarius placement, characterizing it of aspects, planets, whatever other characteristics are taking place in there, that is the context or characterization of what your Sagittarius expression will consist of as you express it outward into the visible realm, the visible reality. This, of course, is going to be through relationships and the tangible experiences around you that you initiate and engage with. Now, what is the point with it in Juno Sagittarius that changes how relationships are being expressed? Now, with Scorpio, it was the need for intimacy, the need to get close enough and personal enough where the secrets could be revealed and exchanged so that you could let someone into the space where sensitive information could be there, where vulnerability is in that space because you're drawing upon help or support from limited names or limited faces, limited characters who can help you to heal or help you to transform yourself through a very rough and dark, cold season, dark night of the soul, okay? Shadow work that had to take place. So those relationships are with people who you needed to be very close to you, intimate with you, okay? And when that's the case, you have to disarm who is coming close to you, okay? It's like a security check. Before you come through this door, take everything out of your pockets, okay? Strip down butt ass naked, all right? Okay, now you can walk in here and we can, we can connect. I need to be able to trust you if you're coming in here. Do you have something in your hands? What's that in your hand? Okay? So we were treating each other that way because we were loaded up with bullet holes and cuts and stabs and scrapes, stitches and wounds and swole eyes. You know what I'm saying? Blisters and fucking, black eyes and blood and pus everywhere. The shit was fucked up, all right? What we just finished coming through. You know what I mean? And you don't trust anybody except for who you really trust. I think I said that the right way. But I'm trusting that you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying by saying that. We didn't trust anybody except for who we knew we could really trust. So whoever you was fucking with for the past 9 months, you know what I'm saying? You really trust that person or those persons. So trust was regained. Remember that. We have restored trust with the self through the shadow work. Okay, I said this again. I hope I'm not saying too many things over and over again. But now that we have restored that trust, in reflection, we can afford trust. We can afford to trust because we now have restored trust to the self. We can now trust ourselves again. Again, what to recover in the shadow work that allows us to trust ourselves? What is it that we recovered? Accountability and the moral commitment, okay? That restored the trust. The trust how? What is the trust bearing upon? It is bearing upon the inner child. It is the inner child who now trusts you because of the restoration and reconciliation of your bond, your commitment, and your guarantee, your contract, your agreement that I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to be right here for you, inner child. Okay? So that trust restored in yourself, and because of that, you now trust others. All right, boom. So this is part of the enthusiasm that we are going to realize is awakening in the spirit. And that enthusiasm is, I have the enthusiasm, I have the interest to trust someone again, to open myself up again, to be more optimistic and not so negative or pessimistic. Okay? Remember, Jupiter rules Sagittarius. It's the Lord of Sagittarius. So this is us now relating and siding with Jupiter in our commitments. Taking a Jupiterian disposition, which is larger than life, loud, expressive, passionate, very optimistic, a yes can do attitude. Why not? Let's do it. Jump in. Let's go. Hit the play. Jump off. It's this energy that's returning, and it's total opposite than Scorpio. Scorpio is so strategic, it backs into a corner and it sits there for 30 years if it has to take the right shot. It ain't fucking moving if it don't need to fucking move. You know what I'm saying? You'll walk past it like, damn, is he dead? No, he's not dead. He's strategizing, waiting for the right shot, waiting for the right moment. And he ain't gonna miss, That's Scorpio. But Sagittarius is different. You gotta be in motion. You gotta move. You think you're gonna miss something. You are enthusiastic and high on life. Optimism running through your veins. A yes can do. It's a fool's journey. A fool's journey. It's like life has just begun. You're taking your first breath of life. And essentially, we really are taking our first breath of life as the phoenix. Remember that. You're resurrected. So, that enthusiasm, it could be off-putting to some people who are close to you. Because now they're looking at you like, yo, for the past 9 months, you've been down, you've been negative, you've been kind of, little reserved, little quiet, off, isolated and everything. Yo, what's going on with you? Like, you good? You know what I'm saying? Like, you acting different, you moving different now. You getting more upbeat, you getting more charged up. You're looking at the world like, yes, it's possible. It's great, it's beautiful, But some people who may not be coming from a healed space, they may want you to stay trauma bonded to you. Trauma bonded and limited to where, hey, don't go anywhere because I'm not done yet. Don't move so fast because, I'm still fermenting, in this misery, all right? Or in this darkness. Who's going to be here for me? So remember, everybody's not healing at the same pace, and everybody's not going to catch on to the rhythm, because everybody's not flowing with the opportunities at hand. Everybody's at a different pace about what's going on. So, but for those of us who are ready and who catch this energy, there's a balance that's going to have to be found between security and freedom. Understand that. Security and freedom. Sagittarius is where freedom is expressed. But we all are longing to stay true, committed, sincere to, loyal to what affords us a sense of security in life. Security is manufactured through Scorpio. It is restored in Scorpio. It is born, security is born in Cancer. All right? And through Pisces, it can be compromised. It can be compromised wittingly and unwittingly based on our ability to maintain boundaries and based on our ability to remain accountable and responsible rather than partaking in escapisms. Okay? So, we are going to want those relationships there that is part of our ability to feel security in life. However, we're going to need enough freedom for exploration, for testing of our ideas, hypotheses, and theories in life, for experimentation. We are going to need more freedom in order to initiate the relationships that can create the ninth house dynamic in our life, which is ruled by Sagittarius And that ninth house dynamic is who has the experience that I need? Who is competent in the world that I wish to actualize myself in? Who's well versed in what I'm realizing I have to learn how to do? I'm trying to get somewhere, and I realize where I'm trying to get. So who's the person that knows how to get there, and who knows how to do what in the process of manifesting this idea, this dream? You know, it's about networking, connecting, shaking hands, engaging, trying out ideas, taking chances, taking risks. And it's everything that Scorpio is not. It's everything that Scorpio's not. Scorpio is not so trusting. It is very calculated, very careful. You're not going to find through the Scorpio energy or algorithm trust that's so easily afforded. But through Sagittarius, trust grows on trees. It's nothing. Trust grows on fucking trees. It's nothing. So right now, trust grows on trees with all of us. We're willing to take those chances because we trust ourselves. That's why. So, this is a time where it is a good thing. It is consistent with alignment with the current transits. If you should find that you have impulsiveness brewing inside of you to explore and learn new things, to cover new ground, to test drive the new person that you are. You are a healed person, a new person. And it's time for you to realize who you are as a new person. And the only way for that to happen is to witness yourself in real time in action through relationships and through life challenging experiences and exploration. Sagittarius, the spreading fire of passion that pushes truth and witnessing in its spaces. This is where we are. And so I say that to say, don't block anybody. Don't stop anybody. Don't limit anybody who needs freedom. Yes, we have to have the balance of security and freedom, okay? Negotiate well with yourself and others between security and freedom. If you want greater freedom, you have to sacrifice some security. If you want greater security, you have to sacrifice some freedom. That is the way it is. That is the way it is. But we're going to learn right now to find that balance because freedom is calling us. It's time to spread out, reach out and touch people in a positive way, to make a positive impact, and to draw off of creativity to test what our new ideas can bring into existence, what is possible. Are there any limitations to our powers? What can this thing do? Now, this whole thing about creativity through Sagittarius, where is that really coming from? Well, I'll tell you, clearing of the conscience. Jupiter rules both Sagittarius and in co-op Pisces. Jupiter being an impulse of creativity, competence, and optimism. That is an energy that works off a surplus in the spirit. We can't get the surplus if we're in survival mode. We can't get to the surplus if we are not managing our energy and resources. And if that's the case, we can't access the potential of our creativity when we haven't learned yet to master our life to master our being and who we are as an expression, to where we are not in survival mode and we are not exploiting our energies and habits and behaviors and lifestyle that's a contradiction to the purpose that we realize we have to fulfill in this life. We can't get there in that pattern. We have to get to the surplus of energy. And that's when creativity can reach its true potential in us through Jupiter. Sagittarius is part of the triangle of creativity, the fire trine, Sagittarius, Leo, Aries. Juno is activating the fire trine as a receptacle of relationship ideals and preferences, which includes, through Leo, expression, through Sagittarius, freedom, and through Aries, initiation and confirmation, affirmation of identity. So these are the reasons that we are going to engage relationships according to Juno. Juno just finished the water trine triplicity as the reason for our relationships as of recent in the past 9 months. It's been about healing, salvation, forgiveness, atonement, purification, purging, letting. Okay? That's what it's about in the past timeline that we're coming out of. Now it's about the fire. It's about ideas that get initiated, ideas that get implemented, putting into practice what we know and understand, making things actually happen, bringing thought into existence, bringing ideas into form. It's fire. Now it's time to actually animate the expression of what is held in the heart and the mind, germinating in the waters of the water trine. It's time to bring it to life. And we're going to feel this in our blood. So, a characteristic about Sagittarius is if you try to lock a Sagittarius down, take a Sagittarius freedom, tell a Sagittarius what they can or cannot do, question a Sagittarius about where they've been and what they've been doing, question a Sagittarius about why they're doing something a certain way. Any type of control or limitations, blockages, tassels, chains, fences, any of that, you got a problem on your hands. Because Sagittarius is going to come up out of there in a raging fire. So, I say that to say, right now is not the time to be toxic, to be practicing attachment rather than connection. Now is not the time to be emotionally codependent, to be insecure, to be jealous, to be envious, to be trying to control other people. If you try to bring these type of behaviors and habits out, you are going to have a hard time. You are going to regret it because nobody's going to be putting up with that shit. So check yourself. Check yourself if you're toxic, if you're insecure, if you got attachment issues, if you have control issues, if you feel the need to hound people down, question them and control them, get yourself together. Get yourself together. Because nobody got time for that shit. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like the summertime. It's too hot for that shit. Yeah, it's the fall, but you know what I mean? It's like it's too hot for that. Nobody got time for that. Find something productive to do. You know what I'm saying? Heal. Get over yourself. You know, it's you're following and chasing somebody down, hounding them and control them, and you want them to stay in the cage, stay in your little doggy kennel. No, nobody's going to stay in your little doggy kennel. Ain't nobody staying in a fucking doggy kennel right now. All right? Niggas want to be free right now because we have to express. You know, it's like you've been driving for 12 hours. You're a truck driver and you've been driving 12 hours. You know, and you got to just pull over at a truck stop and you just want to stand and stretch and, you know what I'm saying, and roar and breathe in and, you know what I'm saying, push your chest up to the sky and, you know, walk around a little bit, you know. It's like a dog that's been cooped up in the house and you open the door and the dog fly out in the yard and just running and rolling in the grass. That's Sagittarius. Sagittarius doesn't want to have to explain why the fuck it loves being free. How can Sagittarius explain that to you? Sagittarius can't explain that. Oh, Sagittarius, why you like to be free? Why you like to run like a horse in a field like that? You look like a little horsey. You're just running in a field and you're rolling in the grass. Why do you like to be free like that? I can't understand that. Don't you want to be here tied up with me? Don't you want to be here chained up next to me? No, bitch. I want to be fucking free. I want to be fucking free. I don't want to have to explain why I want to be free. Why the fuck am I explaining you why I want to be free? That's the whole point of being free. Being free without having to explain to a motherfucker what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, when I'm getting ready to do it, and how the fuck I want to do it. Mind your goddamn business. Don't worry about what the fuck I'm doing, how I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, and any of that other bullshit. Nigga, what the fuck what you got going on? Don't worry about what the fuck I got going on. I'm free. And I want to be free and enjoy my freedom the way that I want to enjoy it. That's the explanation of Sagittarius Juno. Sagittarius Juno is not to explain your fucking self. Oh, why you doing a handstand? Cause I can do it, nigga. That's why. I'm doing a fucking handstand in the middle of fucking road because I'm free and I'm enjoying this shit. It feels good to be free. Yeah. Why are you walking like that? Cause I like walking like this because I have the ability to. Just for the fuck of it. Why are you asking me why I'm walking like this? Yeah. This is a time to express yourself and not give a fuck about explaining yourself. Sagittarius ain't getting ready to explain why the fuck they doing something, nigga. I owe you no fucking explanation. I'm free. Oh, wait, I just called you a few minutes ago. You ain't even answer your damn phone. Where you been at? Don't worry about where the fuck I been at. And don't worry about why the fuck I ain't answer my phone, nigga. This my shit. I pay the fucking phone bill. Asking me fucking questions and shit. You know what I mean? Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. Don't worry about why I'm doing the shit I'm doing. Sagittarius don't want to give no explanation and you don't need to. Because the soul has to express freely. It has to express freely to see the authenticity of its image. The authenticity of what it truly values. What do you really value? What is your image? What is your signature? What is most authentic about you? Okay, we got to give you freedom to realize any of that as a newborn person. Thank you very much. Now I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna roll in the fucking grass. I'm gonna bite flowers. I'm gonna piss on a fucking tree. Yeah, I'm gonna scratch my ass. Yeah, I'm gonna do all that shit. And I'm gonna enjoy it. And I don't need you asking me why the fuck I'm doing it. You know what I mean? So there's that. Congratulations. You know what I'm saying, that we got here. Now, check this out. We all could be at a point where there's a lot of things that we need to learn to grow into our new shoes. All right? Sagittarius is a great beginning for that, because it's the hands-on experience that you need. You know what I'm saying? It's the hands-on experience that you need. You heard? Ninth house. Okay? Ninth house. The ninth house includes the competence that you need in order to guide and direct the character that you should have, according to the proper alignment of your destiny. All right? That is both the ninth and the 10th house. Okay? The ninth house is the competence, not confidence. It is the competence. All right? Ninth house. And the 10th house is the character. So the ninth house is where we are downloading the competence to carry out our life purpose, our higher life purpose that we're in now, with greater responsibility, with mastery and precision, with effectiveness, efficiency, okay? All while remembering the moral commitment in all that we do. So you want to look into your ninth house, because you're going to be dedicated, committed to your ninth house. Now, this very well could make you more so of the teacher. It also could make you more so of the student, but most definitely it's going to make all of us both simultaneously. While some of us are going to emphasize more of the student, and some of us are going to emphasize more of the teacher, okay, as this commitment is there. Now, I'm going to let y'all in on a little secret. I myself am a natal ninth house Juno, okay? I'm a natal ninth house Juno. And what this can include is a natural inclination with foreigners, okay? Foreigners. You will attract a lot of foreigners into your orbit. You will naturally get along very well and, have good rapport with people from foreign backgrounds, other nationalities and demographics, people who speak different languages. You also could possibly learn new languages very easily as well. I am a person who learns new languages very easily. I've learned maybe 4 languages, already. Okay. Arabic was probably the most challenging of languages that I learned. You know what I'm saying? But it comes naturally to me. I don't even have to try. You know what I'm saying? Now, Juno at the ninth house, you're dedicated to the subject matters of that house. Obviously, I'm dedicated to realizing myself as a teacher or as a mentor, as a healer. You know what I'm saying? And I'm also dedicated to learning from teachers, mentors, and healers at the same time. I'm a dedicated student for life, which makes me a dedicated teacher for life. It is only because I'm a dedicated student for life that I am a dedicated teacher for life. It's the only reason why. I am eternally curious, okay, about what meaning I could find in the world. I travel a lot, and I have traveled a lot in my career, So these can be things that ends up being the case for you, is you're going to do a lot of traveling and a lot of experiencing of people from different worlds, backgrounds, and demographics, okay? Networking, making things shake. And what you could value the most is new information, new perspectives, and a broader understanding than the world that you're used to, or a broader understanding of other worlds that you are not familiar with. Okay? Understanding also encourages tolerance, compassion, respect, unity, you know what I'm saying? Peace, resolution, so on and so forth. All right? So, where do you have Sagittarius? You know, what house do you have Sagittarius? You know, you could comment down below, you know what I'm saying, and tell me what you think it's going to be like for you. You know, the house natally where you have Sagittarius, that's where you are going to be quite expressive of your freedom, you know, in those particular themes. That is the area of your life where you insist on being passionate, and you insist on pushing the truth, and you are guaranteed to always have a very positive, impactful, contagious, optimistic, and creative attitude, you know, where you never lay down. You know what I'm saying? You never lay down. I have a Sagittarius stallion. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm loud the way I am. You know, it's South Node Sagittarius. It channels through the North Node Gemini. You know what I'm saying? You can hear the fire. You can hear the ignorance. You can hear the centaur. And that's one of the things that makes it very challenging for me to master, you know, getting my communication right. Okay? I mean what I say. You know, I mean everything that I say. I sincerely mean everything that I say. But it doesn't mean that I say everything the right way. It doesn't mean that I deliver in a way that I should. I have a long way to go. I have a lot to work on with my delivery, with my communication, to make sure that it's, more tactful, to make sure that it is more diplomatic, that it is a little less painful, that it's more painless. You know what I'm saying? I got a long way to go. I've made a lot of progress, you know, but I still have a lot to work on. So I'm saying that to tell you that Juno Sagittarius, it can have you more committed to the fiery nature in yourself, that ignorance in yourself, you know, where you willing to get ignorant, like you ready to take the suit and tie off, you know what I'm saying, undo your hair and let it fall, and you know what I'm saying, just be your natural self, you know, don't even shave your legs, just step outside like, and what, nigga, I'm here, you know what I'm saying, I'm doing this, you heard? Because, you know, I understand that energy too well, you know. Sagittarius is that kind of energy. It's like, let the chips fall where they may. You know, I even give you an example. If you have Sagittarius, for example, at the 3rd and 4th house, it could be challenging for you to keep your car decluttered, or to keep your house decluttered. You know what I'm saying? Like, basically, your house can have a bunch of unpacked boxes, all kind of items everywhere and stuff like that. Sagittarius is not nasty. They just messy or unorganized. Wherever you put the box, it stays there for, you know what I'm saying, for 12 months, for 2 years, for 3 years. It don't move until you need it again. You know what I'm saying? You got all kind of sneakers and stuff in your car, and boxes and papers and all this other, you know. Sagittarius energy, it just leaves it right where it falls at. You know what I'm saying? It's not like Virgo or Libra, you know, where things are about, you know, beauty and detail and the cosmetics. They don't care about that. It's about, okay, experience and time is moving right now, and I got to move with it. You know, I get that shit later because that ain't important. You know, that's how Sagittarius energy is. Get this shit done. Now, Sagittarius energy too, that is a great energy for entrepreneurship. You know what I'm saying? You want to get something started? Yeah, that Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a get up and go, a self-starter. Sagittarius never needs motivation. You ain't got to motivate Sagittarius. It's nuclear fire. You know what I mean? It's self-motivated. It's a fire that don't go out. You know, I have, for example, myself, I have a Sagittarius full moon. And with Sagittarius full moon, Nobody ever had to wake me up in the morning, Nobody ever had to, get me motivated or started. I'm eternally motivated, of myself. I motivate myself. I get myself going. I wake myself up. I get myself started. I don't. It's self where the fire comes from. And so this can help us a lot because most of us are at a place of entrepreneurship in our life where we realize we're coming out of the Capricorn theory in the world, and it's time to do for self. We're decentralizing, and more of us are realizing it's time to do for self. So this Sagittarius stellium that's coming in, especially with the devotion that comes with Sagittarius Vesta and the commitment that comes with Sagittarius Juno, and later on when Black Moon Lilith gets to Sagittarius, you are more likely to connect with people, resources, and align yourself with opportunities that leads you straight into an entrepreneurial circumstance or outlook in your life. Sagittarius is concerned about getting the shit done, not if it looks pretty, if it's perfect. And that's really what makes Sagittarius an entrepreneur. It's the fact that they not so caught up in the fine details and scrutiny, over criticizing and judging themselves so much. Sagittarius is like, look, what I got to do to get this started? Okay, XYZ, no problem. Okay, I did X, boom. I did Y, boom. I did Z, boom, done. Now you ask Virgo to do that. X, well, does the X have to be like this? Well, do I have to move it over here? Well, how many degrees this way? Well, that don't look right. Well, maybe I should flip it the other way. Well, let me see how somebody else did it. You know what I'm saying? Sagittarius ain't doing all that shit. It's like put the shit fucking right there, leave it the fuck right there, and walk the fuck off from it and get the next piece, and then put it the fuck right there. That's Sagittarius. Get this shit done. What the fuck don't you understand about getting this shit done, nigga? What is you talking about? So that's Sagittarius. Get the shit done. Get the shit there. You know what I'm saying? That's Sagittarius. Now, that'll give us some get up and go. It'll give us some spunk. Now, we just coming out of the new moon phases of Virgo where everything, we're coming out of that scrutiny energy. Oh, everything got to be right. Everything got to be right. Everything got to be right. So with Juno and Sagittarius, we're learning how to let things be. We're learning how to stop fucking with shit. God damn. Stop fucking with it. Yeah, it's over there. It's done. You got it. What's the next thing on the fucking checklist? Stop fucking with it. God damn. This is the energy that's coming through. It's we're learning how to stop fucking with the shit. Put it there. Be glad that you got it there. And keep fucking moving. Maybe next year you come back and do all them details. Mrs. Perfect. Mr. Perfect. You know what I'm saying? So it's helping us to lay the pieces out without nitpicking every damn thing. You know what I'm saying? All this nitpicking. Oh, well, I forgot a little. Well, maybe I should. Oh, you know what? Maybe I gotta. Oh, this doesn't look. Oh, God, that's just not right. Well, maybe well, maybe I should. No, leave the shit the fuck alone. What's wrong with you? Go to the next piece. Go to the next objective. Come on. Keep moving. Come on. Let's go. Chop, chop. Move your ass. You know what I'm saying? That's Sagittarius right there. You know what I mean? We gonna get some shit done. You know what I'm saying? We gonna move the line. That's what Sagittarius do, right? It's about covering. It's about covering. Covering mileage, covering space. It's about expanding, okay? It's a fire that spreads outward, okay? It's not about the little details as it goes. It's about covering as much distance as possible. Spread, go, move. You can't do both at the same time. The Gemini details and Sagittarius, spread the fire. No, spread this motherfucker. Go. You know what I'm saying? And so what that is it's like throwing the tarp. We're throwing the tarp over our situation. We're laying the carpet out. All right? That's okay. That's the analogy I want to use. All right? I want you to think about it like this. Right now, during Sagittarius Juno phase, what we're preoccupied with is laying out the carpet. Okay? You got a situation in your life where, okay, you got a bare ass floor and you got to lay out a carpet from end to end. Sagittarius is the type of energy where you're just here to lay out the carpet and you're worried about the details later. But right now, spread the carpet. Don't be nitpicking shit. Spread and roll out the carpet. Cover space with Sagittarius. So there's a process in your life that requires you to cover as much ground quickly and expansively as possible through creativity. And that is usually to lay a basis of some sort. You're laying a basis or foundation of some sort. Okay? Once you do that, then the details come, of infrastructure to make better sense of it. All right? Matter of fact, let me give you another idea. All right. So you have a vision to build like a skating rink, okay? A skating rink. Boom. So you see, you went to buy a property. That's you went to buy a property. It got trees and different stuff like that. You know what I'm saying, on it or whatever. And so you gotta bulldoze. You gotta knock all these trees down and bulldoze and clear the land. Okay, all of that stuff. And you gotta spread out and clear as much land as possible before you start doing the details of the civil engineers coming in, surveying the land, getting the numbers, you know what I'm saying, and elevation and pitch and all these other different things. And then, you come and start flattening the land and laying the foundation and, the different buildings that are going to be there, the plumbing, the electric, that goes underground, the sewage, So before you get into all that little bullshit, you got to flatten all the land out first. That's what you got to do. You got to make a big ass footprint. So you got to clear all these trees out and make a big ass footprint. This is what you're doing in your life. You have to make that footprint. So Sagittarius energy is there to clear a vast space that has to be covered in a short period of time. All right? That is Sagittarius. Okay? The thing with Sagittarius is that there can be a ferocious appetite for what you're doing. And if you are not mindful of the moral commitment that we have recovered, you could step into violation with the inner child, okay, get into absorb with work and, ambition and things like that. And next thing you know, you back to square one because you violated your inner child, and we're not allowed to do that. That whole mentality, I got to get this done. I got to get to the bag. Ambition. Yeah, ambition. Climb the mountain, get to the top. You're never going to be the best if you don't kill yourself and you don't get no sleep. And Now, I should talk, okay? I'm being a hypocrite right now because that's a lesson that I have to learn too, is to fine-tune that balance and not just be, a fucking workaholic all the time. Just going. You got to balance. So this is where we're going to have to remember the moral commitment to the inner child. Take care of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Don't neglect yourself. Next thing you know, you're walking around here all screwed up, beat up, limping, coughing and shit, your immune system all shot. You know what I mean? So, we're going to have to remember a few things that we learn along the way. You know what I'm saying? We learn a few things along the way. And we're going to have to remember that. We're going to have to remember that. So, anyway, I know we get the point. You know what I'm saying? Of what's going on. Tell me about yours, you heard? Sagittarius, 9th house. What's going on for you? You know what I'm saying? Spread love, you heard?